Hello, Chris here. In this video, we're going to talk about object mode and edit mode. When we open Blender, we will get a general file. The general file is in the layout workspace, as you can see. The default mode for layout workspace is object mode, as you can see here. In object mode, we can transform the objects, but we can't edit the mesh data of the object, which means we can move this cube using G key, scale this cube using S key, and rotate this cube using R key. But whatever we do, this cube is always going to be a cube, which means we can't edit the shape of this cube. And if we add a UV sphere using Shift plus A and UV sphere, then move this to here. Whatever we do, this UV sphere is always going to be UV sphere in the object mode, which means we can't edit the mesh data of this UV sphere. If we go to the outliner, when we add a new object in the object mode, it is going to appear as the new object, as you can see here. We can't change the shape of any of the objects in object mode. If we want to change the mesh data of any of the object, we need to go to edit mode. You can go to edit mode by using this drop down at the top left corner and selecting the edit mode option. As you can see, this will bring the selected object into edit mode. The shortcut for edit mode is tab, which means you can go in and out of edit mode using tab. As you can see, in object mode, we have the toolbar which is looking like this and the options that are looking like this. But in edit mode, we have a lot more tools and a lot more options than the object mode options. We can bring more than one object into edit mode using selecting that object and going to edit mode. This will bring the two of the objects simultaneously into edit mode, which means we can bring multiple objects into edit mode by selecting both of them and pressing tab in the keyboard. If we look at the top left corner near to this edit mode option, there is an option called select mode. This is vertex selection mode, this is edge selection mode, and this is face selection mode. The default is vertex selection mode. In vertex selection mode, we can select the vertices of the object, as you can see. If we select the edge selection mode, we can select the edges of the object. If we select the face selection mode, we can select the faces that makes the object. If we press Shift and left click on these modes, we can select more than one type of selection mode. Now we can select the faces, edges, and vertices of the objects. But as we make more complex models, it is easier to select one of the modes and select the type of objects we want to select. Now we can transform the objects in edit mode also, which means if we go to object mode and select this cube and go to edit mode for that cube only, we can transform this cube also in edit mode, which means we can select all by using A key. Now we can scale the object using S key. We can rotate the object using R key, and we can move the object using G key. I'm going to undo that rotation. We can also move the individual vertices, faces, and edges of this cube and scale and rotate them. Which means if I select this vertex, I can move this vertex by using G key and left click to confirm the position. If I select the edge selection mode, I can select this edge and I can move this using the G key. I can say scale this edge using S key, and I can rotate this edge using R key. This will change the shape of the object, which is only possible in edit mode. Also, I can select the face using face select mode, and I can scale this using S key. I can rotate the faces using R key, and I can move the faces using G key. As you can see, we got a weird looking cube at the moment. I don't think it's a cube though. I'm going to undo those changes by using Ctrl plus Z. Now, if we go to object mode and bring out this panel using N key, as you can see, the scale of this object is 1. If I scale this object in object mode to a little, as you can see, the scale of the object is changed. Now we need to apply this scale in order to make this scale into 1. We can do that by using Ctrl plus A, then select scale. This will change the scale to 1. Now if we go to edit mode using tab, and select all using A key and scale this object and make it a little bigger. Now if we go to object mode, you can see the scale of this object is not changed, but the size of it is changed, which means if we want to transform an object, we can do that in edit mode so that we don't have to apply the transformation in object mode. Now if we select both of these objects and go to edit mode using tab, we can move the vertices of both of the objects at the same time. But we can select this vertex and this vertex and join these two vertices using the F key. This will make an edge joining those two vertices. But if we select one of the vertex in this object and another vertex in this object, then press F in the keyboard, nothing will happen. This is because this vertex belongs to this object and this vertex belongs to this object. If we want to join both of these vertices, we need to join these two objects into a one object, and then we can edit them as a whole. Now, if we decided to add a cone in this edit mode, then pressing Shift plus A, as you can see, we only get this option. In edit mode, we will only get the mesh option to add objects, which means we can only add meshes in the edit mode. Now I'm going to add a cone. This cone is inside this cube. G to move and place it here. If you look at the outliner, you can see only the cube and sphere is showing. The cone name is not here. If you go to object mode using tab and select this object, as you can see, this UV sphere and this cone is joined as a single object. If I move this UV sphere, this cone will move with it, which means this cone is added as the mesh data of this UV sphere. So if we add an object in edit mode, that object will add as the mesh data of the selected object. We were in the edit mode for both this cube and this UV sphere, but the UV sphere were the active objects. That is why the active objects mesh data is added to the code. Now if we add a torus using Shift plus A, mesh torus, then move it to here. If we want to join this cube and this torus into a single object, select the object first, then select the other object, then press Ctrl plus J in the keyboard. This will join the two objects into a single object. As you can see, if we select one of the object, this will move as a single object. If we want to separate these two objects, we can go to edit mode using tab after selecting these objects. Then go to face selection mode, select this face. We can select the entire cube, selecting one of the faces and placing the mouse cursor on the cube. Then press L in the keyboard. This will select all linked faces to that object, which means if I select one of these faces and press L in the keyboard, this will select all the objects that are linked to that face. Now, if I want to separate this torus into a single object, then I can press P in the keyboard, then select selection. Now, if we go to object mode, you can see the selected object was separated into a single object. Now, if I go to edit mode using tab and select this face, if I want to make this face only into a simple object, I can press P in the keyboard, then selection. If I go to object mode, as you can see, this face is turned into a simple object. This cube and this face are separate objects. So the conclusion is, in object mode, we can transform the object as a whole, and if we want to edit the mesh data of the object, we can go to edit mode after selecting the object. And it is easier to scale, move or rotate the objects in edit mode because we don't have to apply the transformation of the object. That's it for this video. If you like my videos, give a like to this video. That will help my channel a lot. And if you're new to this channel, you can subscribe using the subscribe button at the bottom. Bye for now. See you in the next video.